We have Tom Hoy, we have Greg Babcock, we have Jim Hutchison. There are two that probably will join in the future, but we can proceed with what we have here. Gentlemen, did you speak with anyone regarding the variances before us tonight?
No.
Oh, did anybody go out to look at the properties before us tonight?
No.
I went to the one on Clay and the one on Mason.
Okay. How about the extension? Anybody believe they need to abstain from any of the items tonight?
No.
I don't believe so.
All right, we have a total of 4 of our members on. I see no reason why we can't proceed with the approval of the agenda, the one that's in our hands right now. Anybody have any changes? A motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for April.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes for tonight, or for the this meeting.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, 4-0, we're good. Still don't see any of our other members on yet. All right, we can now talk about the approval of the minutes from the last 2 meetings. We had a meeting back in March. We had a special meeting on April 8th. Have you gentlemen had a chance to look at the minutes for those meetings? And perhaps a motion would be in order.
Looks like Noel just joined in.
Yep, I see Noel. Hello, Noel. We're at the point where we're approving the minutes from the last 2 meetings.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last 2 meetings, a special meeting and our regular one from March.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from the last 2 meetings, March 15th and April 8th. Aye. Opposed? Okay, at this point, without Tommy Everman being online, Mr. Hoy is voting tonight. If Tommy appears, Tom, you're certainly welcome to offer comments, but the voting then will revert to the 5 that are the members.
Understood.
Good. Okay, at this point, we need a motion to open the floor.
Make a motion to open the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Do I have a second?
I'll second, even though Noel seconded it, but he was muted.
Way to look out for each other. All right, we have a motion made and seconded to open the floor for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're ready to go. Paul, anything you want to talk to us about first? Otherwise, you can proceed with teeing us up for the first item.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start with number 1 right away. Let me bring up some graphics to show you. This property is located at 1302 East Mason Street. That's the southeast corner of East Mason and North Irwin Avenue. The site's comprised of 3 parcels. They're currently vacant. They're zoned general commercial, and the proposal is to put a Scooters drive-through restaurant or coffee shop on this particular property. This is a proposed site plan showing the location of the Scooters, again, East Mason Street and Irwin. A drive-through kiosk, basically. It doesn't have any indoor seating, but it's strictly for drive-through coffee. So all the access will be coming off of Irwin Avenue. If they drive around the structure and then pick up on the west side of the structure. The issue with this request is it doesn't meet our FAR, our floor area ratio. And that's the ratio or the relationship between the size of the building and the lot. The building is proposed at about 600 square feet or so. The lot itself is about maybe 4/10 of an acre or so. I think it's about 16,000 square feet or something to that effect. So the minimum floor area ratio for this zoning district is 0.1, 0.1. The proposal here would be at 0.04. So they're well under that requirement, and that's the reason for the variance request.
All right.
Can you explain?
Who's speaking for the applicant tonight?
John
Yes, sir.
Leroy from Bowden Associates.
All right, Mr. Leroy, why don't you explain the case?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. So as Paul pointed out, I had and develop a Scooter's coffee shop here on the corner of Irwin and Mason. Currently, it's 3 lots, 3 smaller lots. DMG Holdings own, and it's only has 1 parcel. So the parcels themselves will go ahead and need to be combined into 1. With that said, with the property, that leads us to where with the larger parcel, we have the 0.04 for an FAR. When trying to go ahead and see, could just say 1 lot work here, these smaller lots, and still have driveways and things of that sort that would work out. It just does not with how Mason Street is and traffic on Mason Street for safety to go ahead and get cars in and out and still allow for an easement to the shop, which is next door. When consulting with the city, feedback was to go ahead and have the 1 entry onto Irwin rather than onto Mason, to go ahead and have traffic ingress and egress out to a single control intersection over at the stoplight that is there. With that, you have a loop around for the store. With that, it also gives some more safety precautions here with this site itself, to where you'd notice some cars that are placed in the queue here for the room. All in all, when things are extraordinarily busy, you could have 14 cars in the queue in the drive-through and not have any out onto Irwin. So we're taking advantage of using the entire site itself for the oval. Additionally, as far as scooters and their business model, the 620 square feet for the building itself is the largest that they have for their businesses. So they're putting the largest business on here, and we're still using this entire site to go ahead and get traffic in and out to both this property and the property next door, and try to do it safely without having people going and utilizing East Mason Street, since folks are going 40 miles per hour and it's right near an intersection.
Very good. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak for or against this item? I'll note for the record that Mr. Everman has joined us. Tom, we're certainly interested in your comments, but we have our 5 regular voting members present tonight. I did not hear anybody saying that they wish to speak for or against. I guess I have a question. If you just double the size, a little over double the size of your building, it would still.
Correct.
But
Building would fit on the property itself, but there's no interior actual service to have as a typical restaurant, say inside. All the services based off of for folks getting in and out. So it's not part of the business model to have any interior seating for the property.
okay. Yeah, it's so essentially the way it looks to me is that you could build a building that qualify with the plan that you've showed us, but perhaps over half the building would be worthless to you or unnecessary and a needless expense.
Correct. If
you sorry.
No, go ahead, Greg. I was just going to turn it over to the rest of the group.
Oh, okay. If you built more of that building, would that impede the drive? Let's say you build a larger building, and because your business is based upon traffic through drive-through, would that impede that model in terms of not being effective as from a business standpoint for the drive-through customers? Does that make sense?
I hear you on that. As a consultant, as far as engineering and planning be to turn over to Brody Stitz. He's the general manager for the for scooters itself. Insight on that.
Okay. He's here.
Brody is
Can
here.
you guys hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so the model itself, it's about a 600 square foot drive-through coffee kiosk on its own. So doubling the building in size is not within the model of scooters as we would franchise it. The kiosks are designed to accommodate the full service needed for the cars coming through. Giving it a little bit of a smaller building gives us that larger car stack as well. So again, like what we have mentioned before, it's about a 14 car stack that's lined up there for the kiosk itself. And again, the kiosk itself too, it's built a little taller than a normal building, and that allows us to have storage higher up. So I guess that's why the kiosk itself is the size of that roughly 600 square foot.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
Just curious in terms of the configuration, will there be the ability of folks to walk up and get coffee?
Right. So the way it's configured right now is this would be a drive-only usage right here. We do have a sidewalk that goes out on the eastern part of the building, lined up to go to East Mason. That's meant and intended for the employees of Scooters Coffee. Right now, the intention is just to have this go ahead and be drive-through only.
Any other questions for the applicants?
Don, just a comment, just because I came late, and I know Tom was probably here on time, and I apologize to everybody for being late. I was in the middle of an employee conversation. I would not feel comfortable because I'm way caught up, but I think Tom probably, is it possible for him to vote on this one
Sure.
and then I'd be involved in the other one since I was late?
Yes.
Is that possible?
Yes, you can recuse yourself at any time for any reason.
I'll recuse. I feel bad, and I apologize again just for being late. Tom, if you don't mind stepping in, because I don't want to slow everybody down for me to get caught back up.
No
All
worries.
right. Fair enough. I don't hear any more discussion or questions, gentlemen. So if we think we have reached a decision, I'm interested in a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request. The basis for is that given the business model and it's not being an indoor dining type of restaurant, it's more for the drive-through vehicle traffic, and I think they're utilizing that lot in coordination with their business practice, which is mainly a drive-through type of business. And to do that, they need a smaller building. And so I think that given the type of business, they're utilizing the lot the best they can to accomplish that. And I think that's a hardship given the fact that they need to have more space for the vehicle traffic. So that's my motion. I motion to approve the requested variance.
I'll second the motion. I agree with Greg.
Okay, yeah, I think you guys have raised the perfect point. I'm not sure that there's any reason to feel that this business shouldn't be put in this corner. It seems legitimate and it seems reasonable, and I guess that's why we're here, is to provide variances for situations like this. Before we get to the vote, I don't want to skip Paul in case there's something he may think we are missing.
No, nothing that you're missing, but I failed to mention before that this item was before the Plan Commission recently. Because it's a drive-through facility, they had to apply for a conditional use permit, and that's moving on to the council tomorrow. One of the conditions of approval was that they come to the board and obtain this variance to continue the process.
Okay, before we vote, does anybody want to say anything? Otherwise, we have,
Just,
go ahead. Go ahead, Noel.
This location, although there's a busy street running next to it, you've got a lot of neighborhood adjacent to it. And I think there's going to be a number of frustrated walkers who are going to want to stop by for a coffee. Although that could add a little bit of square feet by having a counter to serve the pedestrian, and make it I don't care for the fact that it isn't welcoming to that, and think that adding a little bit of square footage to get closer to the floor area ratio in order to add a walk-up counter would be a good addition to the project. But I understand there's a motion on the floor. I'm probably in the minority on this, but I may vote no on the motion.
Paul, is that an issue that the conditional use permit would address?
There is a proposed walkway, but not a walk-up window per se. So there's an ability for access to get to the building, but not necessarily for the pickup.
All right. Yeah, no, I see your point. I just think that that's maybe a question that can be raised outside of the issue of variance, but you have a fair point. All right, we have an issue before us that has had a motion and a second, so I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion before us, say aye.
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 I see 3, Greg's 4 to 1. All opposed? You opposed, no? Okay, Noel's opposed. So it's 4 to 1. You did get your variance. Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, Paul, you want to introduce the Evans Drive property?
Sure, I will. Just hang on a sec. Okay, sorry about that. So the property is at 1959 Evans Drive. Here we go. It's a corner lot, west side of Green Bay, zone low density residential. A corner lot, fairly tight lot here. The proposal is to put in a hot tub. Here's an image from the applicant showing the single family home. This is the corner where the hot tub would be placed. Regarding pools, ponds, and spas, which are regulated in the zoning code, there's a minimum 10-foot setback from both the side and rear yard. So in this case, the placement of the hot tub is in violation of those setback dimensions to the rear and side yard.
Okay, so is there 2 variances needed for each side yard, Paul?
No, I think
side and side.
I think it's one request. And one motion could be made for it. Yes.
Okay. Is the applicant on board tonight?
I am.
Mr. Keelar, would you care to talk to us?
Sure. Thank you for the time. Fairly straightforward. Being a side lot, my positions for a hot tub are fairly limited, assuming that I don't want to have it, easily visible from the street, just for privacy and curb appeal type reasons. One side of my house is got a gradient to it, so really the spot laid out on the diagram is really the ideal spot to, kind of hit all the check boxes as far as a nice relaxing place to have a hot tub, as well as private and in consideration of the neighbors and that kind of stuff. I have spoken with all of my neighbors. No one's had any concerns. We've got a good relationship between everyone around me. And I'm confident there isn't any opposition to it.
On the picture, that looks like there's some pieces of wood placed down. Was that from something that was there previously?
Nope, that was my kind of roughing in of where it would be, just to get a visual idea of, size-wise how big the hot tub is.
Okay. Is there a reason why you're not, let's say, 6 feet from the edge too?
So if we would move the hot tub towards the house, you can see the corner of the house in the picture. Yep. There's a requirement that the hot tub be 6 feet from where the electrical panel is. And that's where the electrician thought the panel would go, is on that corner of the house. So if we move it further away from that north lot line, then it gets closer to the house and closer to the electric panel, which isn't, it's no matter where I move it, I've been in violation of some sort of ordinance. So also, if I would move it like right up to where the house is, there's windows along that. It's a finished basement. So then it'd be obstructing windows.
Okay. It just looks to me that the way it's been put out there, that if you moved it forward enough to, let's say, even 6 feet, you'd have enough room. It just, I guess it's just me perhaps, but I'm a little concerned about the closeness to your north property line.
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, I'm not sure where there's a bigger concern, being close to electrical or close to a lot line. The neighbor, so the nice part about this lot is all of our backyards back up to each other. So that corner there is in the backyard of both my neighbors. So it's not like I'm being on the lot line, I'm not right up against their house. It's an unfinished part of their lot as well.
Okay, I've talked enough. I'll turn it over to the gentleman that accompany me on this. Greg, Tommy, Noel.
I have a question for Paul. I'll jump right in. Paul, for me to understand the ordinance, the 10 feet by 10 feet, that's what I'm understanding. And is that a safety thing, or is it just a keeping a distance for neighbors? Why is the code written that way?
I don't know if there's a real solid answer. I think maybe it's more arbitrary, but I think it's consideration for an appropriate distance just for maybe safety reasons and just the intensity of the use, so to speak. So, but that's been a requirement in the ordinance for quite a while.
So by granting the variance, we're not encouraging any safety issues and stuff like that.
Well, I think ultimately the responsibility falls to the property owner. The property is fenced currently. I'm not sure about the hot tub type, but many hot tubs have a locking cover or permanent cover on top. So, those would be appropriate, in compliance here. I think it's just strictly the issue of the setback.
Okay. Thank you.
What are the actual setbacks as proposed? It wasn't clear to me in the drawings. I mean, I couldn't see it.
Yeah, let me bring it up again. Yeah, so here's the hot tub in blue, 3 foot to the north, and then 6 feet to the east, and approximately 7-8 feet to the home itself.
Okay. And I can't see that. Okay. So 3 foot and 6 foot are the offsets. Okay.
Yes.
And from a design standpoint, setbacks notwithstanding, it seems to be the best location for it.
Yeah, I agree. That corner is the place. It's the only place to put it.
If I could jump in, one other thought I had on considering why they would want the setback is like privacy and noise type things. I am hoping to put, some sort of pergola or kind of shelter around the hot tub just to, kind of take away some of that. So that way, if there is any lights or whatever, or noise from the hot tub jets or that kind of thing, it'll hopefully be dampened a little bit more.
What's the thing on the drawing that says grade and it's got air?
Yeah, the house sits on a gradient, so that whole side yard there, while it would, if I moved it that direction, it would get me further away from my east neighbor, but then I'd be, on a pretty steep slope, which would add some hurdles for installation.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions for the applicant? If not, perhaps a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the requested variance given the dimensions of this lot, being on the side, being the corner lot, and really just looking at this map and his explanations with where he just, put it and the difficulty with all the ordinances and so forth. I don't see a real other viable place to put this hot tub. And the fence is another thing that, there's, for safety concerns here. He's got some, he brought up other ways that he can deal with the safety issues. His neighbors are not opposed. So I think we should grant the variance. So I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Was that a second, Noel?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. With the fence there, I think the issue of interfering with somebody in the neighboring yard is mitigated. And moving it 3 or 4 feet one way or another isn't going to affect noise. So I don't have any objection to this either. So, alrighty. Without further ado, we have a motion made and seconded to approve the variance before us for this piece of property. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tommy? All right, we have 5-0, 2 of whom are silent people. Right.
I thought I was unmuted. Sorry.
Very good.
I'm
Okay.
rusty.
Mr. Keeler, you've got your variance. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, everyone.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to note to the applicant that, permits will be required. You should follow up with our inspection department. And also, I'm not sure if there's utility easements that are on that north and south line that he'll have to verify. So our staff will have to work with the applicant.
Sounds good. I'll make sure I follow up with them. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have the property on Clay Street. You want to explain this one to us, Paul?
Sure, will do. Property is located at 1043 South Clay Street, the northeast corner of South Clay and Emily. There we go. Zone low density residential, single family use. House is right up here on the corner. There is a detached garage back here that's existing. And this is from the applications. Again, now we're looking east. Here's Emily and South Clay. The house, and then here's the existing garage. It's apparently about 1.5 feet off the north property line here, about 12 feet off the east property line. The proposal is to go, I think, to put it back in pretty much the same place, maybe a smaller side yard here on the north side, but maintaining that northerly setback. In this case, there should be 4-foot setbacks for a detached garage, but I believe on the north side, they want to maintain that 1.5 foot setback as the existing garage has.
Yeah. When you get to say something, you're asking for 2.5 feet.
Yeah, Mr. Borski, why don't you chime in? You're next to speak.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Sure.
Right, we're looking, so the variance, I believe, is 4 feet on the north side. If you're 60 feet or larger lot, and if you're under 60 feet, it's 2.5 feet. So we're right on that 60 by push. So I was hoping to have the variance of the 2.5 feet from the north side, not the 1.2. So I will move it over. I would move it over just on that variance side. The 4 feet is a little bit excessive because I have a very small backyard, and it would make the second stall really hard to get in and out of. I take a lot of pride in my lawn too, and my yard and landscaping, and as much green space as I can have, the better, because I know the neighbors always like to compliment on the yard, and I like to try to make things look nicer.
So just to be clear, the existing setback is maybe a foot or a little more.
1 point,
You're actually proposing then to move the garage a little bit further away from that property line. Is that correct?
2.5 feet
Yeah.
from the property line.
Okay. And the 4 in the back is the required setback. So
Correct.
really, you're asking for 1.5 feet on a side for which you're already moving it a foot.
Correct.
All right. I'm clear. Well, anybody else have any questions?
Seems like a pretty standard deal for garages in these old neighborhoods. You know, you don't have a lot of room to work with. So
Yeah, I agree. I
I
suspect
agree. We see these pretty
we may
quickly.
be in a lot of agreement on this one. I think there's ample reason to grant the variance.
Yeah, I motion to approve.
second,
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the variance as presented to us for the Clay Street property. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. Borski, you have your variance.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Finally, we have a sign issue. You want to tee us up on this one, Paul?
Sure, will do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just bring up the graphic here. So the title heading is that we have it as 310 North Adams. I think I transposed the numbers. It's actually 301 North Adams. So just for clarification, that's the actual address. This is for Spring Lake Church. This is a portion of the old Bay Lake Bank building here. North Adams, Northland, Cherry Street here. The proposal is to add, I believe, 2 signs that have message centers on them, or digital message centers. I'll have to have the applicant clarify that, but it appears that there's 2 on the same wall, which may require an additional consideration by the board for a variance for the number of signs on the wall, but we can discuss that further. But the variance is for the relationship between the static message here and the digital sign. Typically, the code requires that static messages be larger than the digital message. So up to 96 square feet, the maximum digital or changeable copy that you can have is up to 32 square feet. So in this case, the static message is smaller than the digital sign. So they're asking a variance to increase that above the requirement in the ordinance.
That's interesting. So we've got an ordinance that says that the static message has to be a certain size. Can you explain what the rationale for that may have been, Paul?
Well, this is an older requirement, probably going back to the 80s or 90s, where actually it was more manual copy change. And then, obviously in the 90s and 2000s, it became more digital. But we interpret them the same. And I think the idea is that the ordinance doesn't, or the community doesn't want that changeable copy to be the dominant version of the signage.
Okay. Okay, who wishes to speak for the applicant? I think you're on mute, sir.
There we go. I'm
There
here.
we go.
Okay, I got it. Okay. The original thought was just to put 2 message centers. They do come enclosed in a cabinet themselves, 4 foot by 6 foot wide. And it was to promote things going on, obviously with the church, the downtown happenings that go on every once in a while, like Arch Street, that type of thing. But there's no need for that big static cabinet. All we ended up doing was putting that 4 foot, 4 by 6 message center within an ID panel on the top. As an example, on page 1 of the art there, it does say Spring Lake Church. And there is another sign on top of the building, there is another sign that does say Spring Lake Church. That would be facing Cherry Street. Then there is another sign that would be on the Adams Street. We have a new facility in there. It's going to be called the Spring Lake Community Center, focusing on things for the general public to come in, enjoy what we have going on with the church, and it's to promote that aspect of it. To be honest with you, going with that larger static sign, there is just no need for it because both signs will be relegated to Spring Lake Church, and that's all we wanted to do was promote things going on within the church, within the downtown community, so on and so forth.
Okay, now you mentioned 3 signs. Are they on 3 walls or is 2 of them on the same wall?
There's 2 of them on the wall facing Cherry Street on the south side of the building. There is up on top, there's a big one. It's a narrow ribbon that says Spring Lake Church. And then this would be the second one on that side of the wall. Okay. And then there's only the one on the Adams Street side.
All right. Okay, I guess I don't have any questions of the applicant. I'll pass it over to my colleagues here. Questions, gentlemen?
I'm curious, if they took the Spring Lake Church portion off, would there be a need for a variance if they just had a digital sign?
That would not be permitted under the ordinance. They have to be in tandem together. So
I'm
really,
just trying to
yeah,
so is it like,
really,
go ahead.
It's really the static message that comes first. That's the principal sign. Then you can add a changeable copy, but it has to be within 1 foot of the static message. So they have to be grouped together. They can't be freestanding. That's at least the way the ordinance is written.
It seems like some of the feedback we're getting is maybe, flagging ordinances maybe need to be evaluated. This seems maybe one of those ones. It doesn't, like, maybe we should look at it.
Signs are tough. Signs are tough.
No, I think that's a possibility. Our staff has talked in the past about updating the sign code. It's a rather large beast to tackle. We just haven't got there yet. But again, I think some of these requirements are slightly outdated. Not to say they're not in effect, but they may be changed in the future.
I'm trying to picture what would work. So, like, the intention behind it, is it like a movie theater where you have the movie theater sign and then the subtext is like what's happening at the movie theater? Is that kind of the idea behind the sign ordinance?
Are you talking to me or Paul?
No, Paul.
Well,
I want to understand
difficult to tell. Yeah, it's difficult for me to say because of when the ordinance was written, but I think the idea is that the static message was more aesthetically pleasing or desired, I guess, so to speak. But technology has changed, right? And I think there's more of a demand for these types of digital or EMCs. So that's something we have to take under consideration, when we consider revising the sign code.
Okay. That was literally my only question.
Okay. As I've said before, guys, signs are tough. It's a difficult ordinance to write, and I suspect as soon as you wrote one, it would be superseded by some new technology. Any other discussions?
Well, I have a question with regard to the dynamic part of the sign. What's the anticipated use of that? Is it more moving scenario things, or is it just printed text?
Probably more so just printed materials, graphics, no movies of any kind. I know the city does not allow that anyway. So it would be just graphics, events, that type. And if there's a concern, I know the Hotel Northland is right across the street from the Adams Street side. We can have that sign go off like, say, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Those can be automatically set to go off, to be turned off.
Yeah, that would be the only side that would seem to affect
residents or people sleeping. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a reasonable qualification to the variance should we grant one.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, guys? if we're in violent agreement, a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the requested variance with the condition that the one facing the Northland, I don't know, 9 o'clock be turned off.
That'd be fine.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, Greg made the motion. Tommy gets credit for seconding. We have a motion made before us. Any further discussion before we vote? Otherwise, let's do it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Then I detect 5-0. You have your variance, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
You too. We need a motion to close the floor, gentlemen.
Make a motion to close the floor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the floor is closed. Paul, you want to fill us in on the informational?
We just have provided the quarterly report for your information. There's nothing else further that we have to pass along as far as an informational item.
I noticed you are providing us with a new report. Maybe I'm either forgetting or never saw it before, but could you explain how that fits in with what we're doing now?
Yeah, I think we had a discussion last year about tracking some of these requests that come before the board. It kind of consolidates it, and you get a kind of a more of a overview of the request and their timing. So I think to Tommy's point, at that time is seeing trends of requests you continually see, and maybe reporting out to the plan commission or council that, look, maybe you should consider modifying or changing the ordinance. So I think it's just to kind of look back and just some guidance on where you've been and where we're going, I guess.
Okay, I thought it was good, and I thought the format was fine. Tommy, you were the one who was looking into this originally at the most.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I think this is going to help long term. I think the only thing I would see if there's an option to add, again, I'm trying to think about this as a functional tool for aldermen to get a good sense of like, hey, I can see zone 7. Oh, I see 3 this last quarter for my district. What were they? Without them having to do, they're very busy. They're on a lot of committees and all that stuff. So is there a way to, add a code or a piece or a tag that's like translates the code, like driveway, or, the overarching concept of what it is they're trying to do. Like this last couple sign issue, the one before it was garage setback, or just garage, something really, really simple. Setback garage, anyway, something that they could really peruse through. I can be District 7, 3 for me, setback. Oh, they were all garage setbacks. I need to talk to someone about garage setbacks in my area. And I think that feedback loop creates some engagement by the aldermen. And I think it also helps us identify areas within the city that maybe we need to go, is there an exception we can make for that district or that area or neighborhood, or they can update the code, That's the hard part. Green Bay's got such a mishmash of different areas that were developed at different times. Whole city sometimes doesn't make sense because it won't fit within this one district. Astor is different than Norwood, which is different than the east side, So I think it's all just good, relevant feedback for us. So this is great. Just that would be the one add if we can. I have another administrative request. I know we all want to get out of here because we had a long one the other day, but I'd be curious to get everybody's feedback. When looking through the packet, for me, what I would love to see is, if possible, to have the agenda for tonight butt up against the actual packet of things. What happens, I think, is in the packet that you send, the agenda is the very first thing, and then it has minutes. And I'm wondering, is it possible to have the minutes be first, or have the agenda? So that way I can go back to the agenda and the packet, so it's reading like, okay, cool, we've gotten the minutes, we've approved that. All right, agenda for tonight, and just reversing that. I'm not sure if that's possible.
I would think so, sure. I can talk to Jesse about doing that, sure.
Does that make sense, guys, at all?
Yeah,
it does.
Okay.
So you want it in a chronological order, so to speak, right?
Yeah, so when I open the
Basically.
packet, I can review what happened last month. Great, I see that. Perfect. Next thing is, and even instructions before that, instructions on how to log in, minutes, agenda for tonight, and then all the things on the agenda, and then that report.
Okay. Let me work with Jesse on that and see what we can do.
You might
Right.
want
Thank you
to,
very much.
you may want to put just a little cover letter on the front if people are trying to grab the packet or whatever you put online that would indicate that, they may get confused by the minutes being, that'd be the only thought I'd have. Don't be disturbed. This is one of the first items on our agenda, which follows these lists of minutes.
That, for me, it makes sense when looking at a meeting, but just functionally be able to go through the thing and know what we're going over as we're using it. I think it's more beneficial. But I agree with you. Like from an agenda, it makes more sense the way it is.
Well, Jesse will have some good ideas. I'm sure Jesse and Paul can straighten that out.
Cool.
Attaching all of it to the meeting invitation and Zoom link would be awesome too.
Hey, Paul, I have a question on that case we had the special one. So what happens if that ends up in circuit court? What's our involvement from there? Are we just basically done, or can you explain that if a case gets to the circuit court? Happening.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening at this point. We haven't been contacted by anybody. As far as we're concerned, it's done. But I guess we'll wait and see if there's any court action or any court request on our behalf that we'll have to involve the board. But I'm not aware of anything at this point.
But
Has your experience been other cases that have gone to court, Paul? And what was the involvement, if any, of the board members in that?
Right.
Yeah, I've been around a while and I've never seen one go to circuit court, so to speak. So I don't know what to anticipate at this point. If we get word, I'll talk to our law department and we may have to bring Lindsay back to advise the board, but it's tough for me to speculate what your involvement will be at this point.
And there could be some resolution before it even gets there between the parties or something like that too, I imagine, right?
Right. I don't think court's the only route. There could be some settlement. Or there could be some claim against the city. So I don't know if there's going to be legal action necessarily.
Sure.
Yeah, I've been on for 14 years. I do not recall anything ever going.
I drove past the property and was status quo. They haven't done anything with respect to moving it.
It did remove the trailer off site, the construction trailer.
I had another quick thing, just an informational piece. I had a conversation with the mayor after our last meeting, just kind of getting a feeling for everything. And one of the things that what we were working on is working on the application. I love that 3-step test thing. When I look at an application, I immediately go there and see if they've built their case there. So I think that's good. But then the spreadsheet that we're working on in terms of getting that feedback back to the alderman. But I think that next phase that we were talking about is getting the alderman, I think, to understand a bit more of why or how we approach decisions that we did, given the state of the last one that he dealt with and at the heartfelt pain that a lot of people are going through. There's a lot of feedback coming back that we're heartless or that we don't, right? But again, that's part of how we're supposed to I received, and so I talked to him about that, and maybe the alderman can go through some of that so they can be have a better understanding of why or what we're supposed to do. And there was a suggestion maybe made, and I'm just throwing this out there because it was just a dialogue, but having an informational item on the city council's agenda rather than having them go to a training. And that we either a couple of us go and say, hey, this is we are, or maybe having someone from like they did our training at the Northland present, and then have maybe Don or someone else within us be there for questions with the city council. So it's not a 3-hour, 4-hour training, but maybe a 15, 20-minute overview really quickly to understand a Board of Appeals function within the city and why we make decisions the way we do.
Good point. We get new older people all the time. They may not always understand. or choose not to. I won't be at the next meeting, guys, so Mr. Babcock will be the chair for the May meeting.
Okay, Paul, load it up, I guess, huh?
I'll do my best.
And I don't
Okay.
think there's any. Is that one still virtual? Because I'll be in California at that time, so I can still log in California and do it if we're virtual. Correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
As of right now.
we've got no word that anything's going to change in the near term. So status quo at this point.
Cool.
All right, guys, I think we're done.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
All in favor to adjourn? Aye.
Aye.
Guess we're it. Thanks, guys.